Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's Somerset Provider Information Evenings. This is the second of two events. So, as always, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us in your precious evenings. We've got quite a packed agenda this evening. For those of you who don't know me, hopefully you do. My name's Alison Jeffrey. I'm now the head of curriculum and literacy, but obviously still have a remit with early years, but we just don't have the early years team sitting all together anymore, but we'll explain a bit more for those of you who don't know about that a bit later on. So as I said, we have got quite a packed agenda tonight. I'm going to share with you some slides from the brand new launch of the education strategy in Somerset, followed by funding rates, which hopefully won't be a surprise to any of you. You should have had those through now, but Sarah's going to reiterate those. We then have the lovely Early Years Alliance here, and Sharon's joining us to share all about the early help contract and the current work they're doing, just as a reminder for everybody. We then have Rebecca Fisk here from the Early Years Send service, going to be reminding us about some key messages and some data around Early Years Send. Unfortunately, John from the library service can't be with us, but he's given us his slides. So I'll be running through to some of the offer from the Somerset Library Service, which may be new to some of you, some great stuff on offer. Sarah's going to be updating us on early years communities. Then we have some slides from SASP. We have Ralph joining us from Take Art to share about the early years music strategy, as well as other bits and pieces to remind you about. We have some Ofsted outcome themes and then some upcoming training and reminders and an opportunity, hopefully at the end, for some questions and answers. And we're aiming to finish promptly, if not before, at 8 o'clock. At the top of your screens, hopefully all of you will see a Q&A function. That is your way to interact with us tonight. This is a live event just because we've got so many people online at the same time. It's the best way to do it, but that's the way to contact us. We might ask you to put some information in or answer some questions or put in any information you want answered. So please do use that function if you'd like to take part. Okay, let's make a start then. The Education for Life strategy for Somerset was quite an iconic event for those of you who were able to join us last Tuesday at the Fleet Air Arm Museum. We were sat under Concord as Amelia and senior leaders of the local authority were there to present the strategy. I've just taken a high level view of it because, as you can appreciate, time is a little bit limited tonight, and there were many slides at the event which we couldn't possibly cover in one day, or one evening rather. But the ones really pertinent to yourselves, and then we will send out the larger slide set to you after the event tomorrow. So there was recognition and shared recognition across education, the education system, the wider education system, including all phases and ages, staff, teachers, senior leaders, managers, everybody, that we need to do things differently to support our children and young people. And it does take a village to raise a child. It's not just about one service or one area of the local authority or one phase of education. It's everybody combined with a shared vision for supporting our children and young people to improve their outcomes. And we must work together to make those changes and agree what our immediate priorities should be, and doing that in partnership. So this was the first step in that process. There was a shared recognition, and obviously everybody's aware that standards are declining in Somerset, which is a worry for everybody. And what we need to do is take a stop, a moment in time, and turn ourselves around and do things differently. But we need to put children, young people, babies, pre-birth at the centre of what we're doing. And we need to do more for those peoples who need it most. But we equally need to improve the offer for all children and young people, as I said. And the way to do that, as you can see in the boxes underneath that, is supporting the people that our pupils and our children and our young people and our babies rely on. We need to engage the system, the wider system, in supporting education. We need to empower the employers to lead change, but all the time we need to keep our focus on the plan for the longer term. So the implementation plan that colleagues from the local authority, senior leaders such as Claire Winter and our chief exec, etc., shared with everybody is only a year priority plan at this stage. I must stress at this stage, because this will be a 5-year plan for improvement. And even then we will have further work to do. But we hope as a combination and a combined effort that we will be able to make changes to that 5-year plan. But initially the priorities are only for that 1 year, because we recognise that relationships across the system between some of the stakeholders, between some parts of the education sector and the local authority and colleagues are forming from a fragile base, and there's a lot of work to do. So we need time to consolidate and thrive in order to set a longer term vision in partnership with one another from a stronger platform. And there is much to do in year 1 to establish those strong relationships and foundations. So therefore, we're going to take that year to do that. And then we together in partnership, we will decide what our priorities for the longer term are. However, there are 3 key pillars to what we wish to achieve, and I hope that everybody, especially in the virtual room tonight, agrees with this particular one, and that is that children should have the best start in life. So year 1 proposes, and the priorities around that are to increase the percentage of pre-birth and post-birth public health nursing checks. Something that you will all be involved with is implementing a reviewed integrated early years provider and public health nursing check for 2-year-olds, that integrated review that as you all should be aware of. Any children who present with a delay at 2 years old are prioritised for support, and families and organisations know where to get that support from. And to use that data really well to analyse themes in relation to developmental delay, so that we can really look at a wider system in terms of mapping what that needs to, how improvements need to be put into place. School readiness. Absolutely, we have prioritised this in the past, but perhaps it's been done in silos. We need to think about this as a much wider system, including health, public health, community and voluntary services, etc., and all conclude together in a community-based way what we need to do to support children to be school ready. And there is a lot of work to do around what that looks like, what it means, and the kinds of activities that we need to do to support it. And also, and it's just great being on the agenda tonight in terms of libraries, that is a priority. We need to work with them and local booksellers to improve the availability of appropriate phonic books in every community, not just schools and settings, across the community. The second of the 3 main pillars is thriving schools, and year 1 proposed priorities are that the local authority, alongside multi-academy trusts and maintained schools, put some projects in place to really identify where there's really good practice across education, and we know there's a lot of it out there. But we need to recognise it, share it, and therefore we are supporting those schools who need it. We're going to be doing a system support to schools, working with the most vulnerable 60 pupils across the school system. That's roughly half of the number that are made permanently excluded each year. So it's a really exciting project to look at what it is and why it is that those children are vulnerable, why it is they're at risk of exclusion, and what we can do better to support future cohorts of children. And then online recruitment to ensure that we are getting as much recognition across the country, across the world, that Somerset is a great place to work, and that we're getting the best people into our settings, our schools, and into our further education settings. And then the third of the 3 pillars is about great futures, and it's working with our further education colleagues and businesses across the county to really look at how commerce and business sits with education, and how we are informing the curriculum content for our children who will be going on to do jobs that likely don't exist at the moment. How are we supporting their futures, and how are we therefore supporting Somerset, its economy and its long-term future success? Those are the 3 pillars. This slide, I appreciate, is going to be really, really difficult for people to read, so I must reiterate that we will send this out on the back of this meeting. The bit that really kind of should resonate with yourselves on the back of that Best Start for Life pillar, there is going to be a steering group sitting here that feeds into a Somerset Education for Life board, which will be member led, but will be made up of lots and lots of people across the system who can put into place priority plans and really move this work forward with pace. This is just a slide I shared with you back in the autumn term provider evenings and partnership meeting, but just to remind everybody out there that yes, the education strategy is now launched. It's on the back of the education redesign, which you all hopefully will be aware of, hence why the early years team is now across all aspects of education, partnerships and skills in the local authority. And this slide just really kind of illustrates, gives you a vision of what it is and why it is that happened. So although I know everybody valued the early years team when we were together in a small group, we were responsible for a whole range of activity. So therefore capacity to do things further and better was limited at times. So therefore spreading those responsibilities across the wider education partnerships and skills team means that we can do more to support you, and you should start to see that being implemented and seeing that support much better embedded over the coming months as the education redesign really embeds and vacant positions are filled. And you can see there cross-inclusion, education partnerships and skills, and early help, which is Somerset Connect, that we aim to support you as providers better than we have before. And just as last slide for me from this beginning bit, again, just to remind you about key positions within the local authority that are there to support you. These are among others, obviously, but Amelia Walker, you'll all be familiar with, our Assistant Director. Myself as Head of Curriculum and Literacy, we have Heather, who's new in post to the Head of Education Leadership. She leads the relationship managers, and we have Liz Smith, Marie Palmer, Jane Wetherall and Kate Edwards, as you can see there. And what we'll do in a minute is we'll put their contact details, their email addresses in the Q&A for you, so you can take those and have those with you. I have Kate Daunton as Service Manager for Curriculum Projects and Resources, and we have a key role in supporting you with CPD and training. We're doing a lot of work behind the scenes at the moment to get that up and running. And Nikki Difford, who you know obviously and is here tonight, and Joe Sawyer are key people within that and developing new resources for you as we speak. And then we have Sarah Love, who's new to post as Service Manager in Education Places and Strategy. So we'll be leading on early years sufficiency and sustainability and places. So key contacts, people who you know and recognise across those teams. Okay, enough from me. I'm going to hand over to Sarah and she's going to update you on the funding rates.
Thanks, Alison. So hopefully by now everybody's received through the portal their funding rates. So this is the sort of grassroots information which you should have and be well aware of. So there has been an increase in the 3 and 4 year old rate of 24 pence, bringing it up to £4.65. For 2 year olds, a 6p increase, bringing it up to £5.46. The Disability Access Fund has an increase and is now at 828 per eligible child. So please, remind parents about that. We have an underspend on that as well. So, please do remind parents that they should apply. And then the early years pupil premium increases by 62 pence per hour per eligible child, which brings that up to 353 per year. So again, remind parents, to apply, have a look. That there's no harm in applying for that DAF funding or the early years pupil premium. The worst that can happen is they're not eligible. So encourage your parents to apply. I will say, just hot off the press, obviously we've had a budget review last week, which sort of floored us all a little bit with what the potential funding for early years children is likely to happen into the future years. I will say that I've had confirmation from the DFE on Friday, that there will be an in-year increase to the 3 and 4-year-old rates, which has never ever happened before. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know what that's going to be, how much that is going to be, but there is some new money coming in from September. I can't give you any more information than that, other than just wanted to alert you that there is going to be an in-year increase to that funding, and that is what we have. That is what DFE have confirmed, but the detail of that has not come. And as you all well know, we get the detail of such things very, very late in the day. But I wanted to make sure that you were aware that that is what they have pledged, that there will be an in-year increase. I think that's it, unless there's any questions.
Bit of good news there as well, Sarah. I hadn't been made aware of that, so that's fantastic. Brilliant stuff.
As I say, we don't know what that looks like, Alison.
It might not be quite so much good news. Let's hope it is, though. Brilliant, thank you. Right, I'm going to pass over now to Sharon Bond from the Early Years Alliance. Here she is. She's ready to go. I'm going to send you live.
Thank you, Alison. Thanks, everybody. Lovely to be here again this evening. Hope everybody's well. So yeah, we're the Somerset Early Help Advisory Service, formerly the EAL Advisory Service. So hopefully you've all seen our updates and things in the bulletins, and we've been out seeing everything. You should be familiar with us. So it's just a really quick update to sort of like tell you what's been going on and our kind of plans for the future. It was really good to hear the message from Alison, first of all, to kick us off about this new early education strategy, particularly the part about the school readiness, which is one of the strands that we're working through. So if you'd like to move on, Alison, that'd be lovely. Thank you very much. So we've been doing a lot of work in Somerset with you all, and a lot of our work has been training. And we have our training is free, and it's called, the first one at the moment is just called This is Early Help, which is obviously what it says on the tin, an introductory training session. We do it over 2 1.5-hour sessions. We've delivered that 6 times, so every month since September. I'm quite chuffed and proud about that, actually. It's quite an achievement, but it's really worthwhile. But so we get feedback from people that have done the training, but we want a bit of feedback from you all, really. Hopefully it might be that there is going to be a link or something in the chat. But my 3 questions are: have you been on our initial training yet? Yes or no? What type of training would you like next? So it's, do you want training that's going to focus on school readiness? So, you know, This is Early Help is kind of like our phase 1 of training, and we're quite happy to carry on running that, but we're really keen to develop something new. So do you want something with a focus on school readiness? Do you want something with a focus on emotional well-being and children's mental health, or do you want something that includes support for parents or a parent training session? I think Alison's going to click the link and there's the survey there. So does that make it go live?
So it should be in the Q&A. So if everybody goes and scrolls up to the top, Gemma put it in the chat at the beginning. Now this is just coming up with the questions, just so everybody can see the format, so you can see it's really quick. But hopefully you should be able to click on those.
Yeah, so if you can do that at some point through the presentation, and then all of your replies will be collated and sent to me, so that will really help inform us with what we do next, really, because we want it to be led and driven by what your needs are. But you know, as Alison said, school readiness is going to be one of the focuses for the next year, so that may be where it's a bit like you know, where your votes are cast kind of things. But you know. And the third question rather is, which sort of training do you prefer? It seems to be that online, going from last week's session, online is still the preferred way of training. It's just much more economical for everybody, isn't it? Like tonight's session, because we can all do it from our own home with our slippers on under the desk, and then log off, and we're there straight back with our family. So if that's what people want, that's what we're happy to do, or we're happy to do face to face. Remind us there of our Facebook group. it's a group rather than a page. So you do have to answer a little question to confirm that you are part of a Somerset Early Years sort of workforce, or else people that are engaged with that kind of thingy, because we want the group to be just for you. There's lots of stuff going on our website. Our website's getting updated all the time, and whenever we get new resources, we add to it. So that's a really good resource for you to make use of. Thanks, Alison. And the other thing we just wanted to just chat about really is, over the 9 years that we've had the EAL contract for Somerset, we've been very fortunate to buy and purchase and make a lot of resources, which we don't have very much left in our office at all, which is exactly how we wanted it, because we want all the resources to be out there in the settings with you. So when you go back to your settings tomorrow, when you're there next, have a look in your cupboards or wherever, under the desk or somewhere. If you've got some of those resources and you find that you're actually not using them at the moment, perhaps you could drop Louise or I an email and just say, you know, we don't need this at the moment. What do you want us to do with them? Because we are getting lots of settings that do want to use them. Particularly our song boxes. We made song boxes about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, to focus on the music and the importance of music. And I know we've got Take Art coming up later in the evening to talk about music, and we'd recognise that as a really good way of meeting needs of our children who are younger and have English as an additional language, so they can start to learn to communicate through music. So we made the song boxes. So if you've had one of those song boxes over the last 6 months or a year, and it's now time really to move them on and pass them on. So I know who've got the song boxes, so I'll probably be contacting you and asking you if we can move them on and share them. But if you're still using them, that's absolutely fine. But if you're not, we can come and take them from you. And that last slide is just a reminder of our wider organisation. Early Years Alliance is a national organisation, a national charity. The resources for families there in the middle of that screen, Family Corner, you don't have to be a member to access all of that, and we use that a lot on our training to signpost to our learners about the benefits of the things that you can see on there that can help your families with things like school readiness and social and emotional and mental health. So have a look at that and check that out. Thanks, Alison.
Thank you. So I'm wondering whether we can have a go at looking at this form. So we weren't able to get the results last week. So Gemma, do you know if it's a matter of me just clicking on the form links again?
Was it on the first slide, Alison? Oh, you got it there.
Because all it's bringing up is the actual survey.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether I can access it. Is Gemma still with us?
If you go back to your first slide, Sharon's, Alison, it's on the link.
Ah, okay.
That's what Sam did when she was doing a test.
Okay, let me just, sorry, everybody. Ah, okay. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Oh, here we go.
Well, that's
okay.
Last week's. That's the results from last week.
Is it? No, it's 28th
Yeah.
today. It's the 28th of March today.
Ah, so people reply already. Good. So people have replied.
We've had 25 responses.
Thank you, everybody. So let's have a look. How we're doing. School readiness.
Six out of 25 have been on your training. Yeah, training around school readiness, definitely. Training on early help, SEMH, training that includes a parent training session, which that's the kind of training they want to see. And which form of training delivery do you like? Online 19 and in person 6 people. So still a little bit of a mix. So so obviously that's good for us to know as well.
Yeah, that's good. What I would say is we are still offering EAL training, but we're tending to do that through the National Early Years Alliance site, so so that it's more accessible, really. But yeah, that's still there. We've got a session in April.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you very much.
I'll just move us on. Okay. So I'm going to pass over now to Rebecca Fisk, who hopefully all of you will recognise now. She's been with us several months now, Rebecca, haven't you?
I have. Can you hear me?
I can
Yes,
perfectly.
okay.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, actually, Alison, at the end of April, it's a year I would have
Oh my
been
goodness
here,
me.
and doesn't time fly? So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the Early Years SEND Service Manager. It was a new service last year, developed by pulling together the Portage team, some of the Early Years area SENCOs, and some new posts, myself and inclusion advisors, who are all year round members of staff. Most other staff are term time only, although our Portage offer is expanding into the holidays. Okay. So for me then, first of all, a really big thank you. I mean, I do appreciate, and I hear a lot from the team, just how well you are including children, how hard you're trying to include children, even though you have challenges and barriers around that. And we always want to know if you have barriers and challenges, or if you feel that you can't include a child. We would rather have a conversation with you than hear it through a parental complaint or something like that. So thank you for what you're doing. And if you're really struggling, please let me know. So, you know, we know that children are all different and capable in their own ways, but so are we as staff and as settings. And we're hoping to develop going forward some of the peer support from best practice examples next year to share things between yourselves a bit more in our SENCO workshops and draw on that. So if you're interested, let me know. Thank you for also, can you pass on please to the key people who support the children? Obviously, you may be managers, I don't know, this evening, but to ensure that those key staff have got our thanks as well. Thank you too for those of you who took part in our SEND sufficiency questionnaire. That was the first time Somerset had done that in early years, and we hope to embed that in the sufficiency questionnaire every year going forward. And also some of you took part in the early years speech language communication peer review, which we haven't had the report yet, but when we do, I will find out if we are, you know, how it's going to be circulated, and we'll let you know. And coming up, there'll be lots of work that we want to do where we really want to hear sector voice, and I'll be offering some sessions for sort of forum conversations or coming out and visiting and hearing what you have to say about various things to do with SEND. Thanks. So just a quick piece of information really around data. So when I came to Somerset, I had a look to see what was happening with the early years high needs funding data, and you know, the numbers of children are going up and up and up each year. That's no surprise. But what was a surprise was very few children had funding for band 1, which is just for, it doesn't roll into school. It's called SENIF funding, which is special needs inclusion funding, and that is for emerging needs. And I feel that maybe there's some work to look at about why that's underrepresented and why we're getting far more children coming in straight away with higher needs rather than using some of the lower bandings for part of the graduated response. So that's some work that we'll need to be doing with the sector going forward to understand that. No surprise, the majority of children with high needs funding fall into that speech language communication needs category as their primary need. And I'll be interested to find out what you're doing at SEND support in terms of intervention. I know some of you had the early talk boost training, you know, what sort of small vocabulary work you're doing, supporting home learning environment, or how you're accessing and using our inclusive communication packages, of which there are more and they are being developed further. So keep your eyes out in our training sector for that. I put the link there. So what was interesting, of those children with funding, 133 had that speech language communication needs, and most of those are going to school this September. So, you know, a lot of good transition will be really important around that, and expectations, and also sharing what you've done already as part of your graduated response to meet that need. But also, interestingly, 61% of those children already at this age had a diagnosis of autism, and many of those are going to school this September. And just to let you know, which I hadn't put on the slide because it's fairly new, is we are looking at a new autism pathway for the under 5s to make it easier to get to an assessment for that. But the paediatricians have fed back, they are seeing a lot of children who are being referred for autism assessments, that actually it's around behavioural issues and some parenting concerns rather than autism at this stage. And that's the general sense of some of the confusions. It's a very complex area in terms of neurodiversity and what trauma or attachment issues, how they may present at the same time. So there's lots happening behind the scenes around sort of unpicking that a bit. And then there's a link there which has the banding descriptors for the earliest high needs funding, because I didn't realise for quite some time that this wasn't generally known to earlier settings, what they were applying for, what the bands were for. We have an audit, but it wasn't clear, and it's been there all along, but it's been perhaps more in the sort of school domain. So have a look there, and we'll highlight that in newsletters and things going forward as well. It doesn't mean that it won't necessarily change in the future, because sometimes those things have to be reviewed, and it may be as part of the government national programme that because they want to get some equity across the country, because different children get different amounts of funding in different local authorities. So it may be that we wait until that point, but that's all up for conversation going forward. Thanks. So just a little bit of feedback there around our numbers. These have changed since I put that in, growing, but just to help you understand what the team are trying to deal with in terms of caseload children, and that's of course not all the other things they do with training and general advice and so on. So you can see that our early years inclusion advisors in the middle block at the top, we've got lots of children who are 2 years -2, not -2 in age group, but -2 in terms of from the reception national curriculum year 0 is reception. They are 2 years below school entry age, and we already have 155 children identified there as very high needs, and then over 300 for the area SENCOs, bearing in mind that they were term time only, and there's less area SENCOs now. We also have increased number of children on the Portage waiting list. That's creeping up again. We had managed to get it down, and we're working above and beyond capacity there. But that intervention is a 24-week period, but all those families are also invited to stay and play sessions whilst they're waiting. So please do encourage them to attend. And there will be sessions in the holidays advertised to them as well. We are getting between 20 and 40 referrals a month, and they come from early years settings and health visitors in the main, not only, but mostly. And then just to say, you know, we're not Maisie, but you can see there's a lot of children that overlap between our service and known to the Maisie panel, which is the multi-agency panel, of which there are 6 meetings in 8 areas all the time. We have a full-time administrator for Maisie, and again Maisie has been asked to have a review as well of what that is like and what the impact is, what difference is it making for children and families. So we are not at full capacity at the moment. We do have some long-term absence, and we are doing our best, but we do not have cover for all those hours. Other things to be aware of, we have highlighted this, and I know Sarah's already mentioned it's actually gone up to £828. This is for children in receipt of disability access, disability living allowance. So remember, there's benefits for the families to have disability living allowance if the child is eligible and qualifies, and then after the age of 3 there's benefits for the setting. Please be really clear with families, and I've tried to be very clear with health visitors who might mention this to families as well, that this is not money for the parents. This is money for the setting to support the child's access. However, you do need to be accountable for how it's helping that child, how you're spending it. So look at the government guidance, look at the website guidance around that, make sure you know what you're using it for and can talk to families about it. But you can have those conversations with them. It is hard because parents it's a horrible title, isn't it? Disability, you know, living allowance. It's not about ability, it's about disability, and sometimes that's difficult for families. Then also, please, if you haven't accessed this wonderful opportunity of training, this is going to be around for 4 years. All the modules will be free. There'll be 10 modules. There's already 4 out and 2 more coming out this year. This is a national programme funded by Comet Relief, the Dingley's Promise Inclusion Project. It's completely free, and if you were to add up that quality of training and the cost that it would be for every member of staff, you will just see what value for money that is. And parents can do it too. If you are in Somerset or a Somerset parent, it will be free if you let Dingley's Promise know that you are Somerset based. And you can also receive a kite mark. So I'm really waiting in anticipation to hear which settings are the first few to get their kite mark. So we're very lucky. There's only 30 local authorities out of 150 who've got this opportunity. So please use it. Thank you. So what it means to you, just a reminder that responses from our service will take longer. We're not going to try and pretend it won't, it will. Please go as your first port of call to the SSE website and professional choices if you want advice and guidance. All our advice sheets, including new ones, are on there, lots of processes and information, as is our training. So it's the same link as I put in for the training earlier, but also our new ways of working. We've been trialling structured conversations this year. They've been working ever so well. We've had really good feedback from our team, staff and yourselves. So please do take those up when you're offered those, or if you want to ask for one, contact your inclusion advisor or your area SENCO. And then also there is now a new Somerset Inclusion Advice line. That is your go-to place for generic inclusion questions, but then you've got an urgent query about a child that we already have on our caseload, contact Inclusion Send Support, or you can email Inclusion Send Support. That's it. Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thanks so much, Rebecca. Obviously use the Q&A if you want to ask any questions. I think Rebecca will be hanging around for a little while, so if you want to have any questions, then we'll make sure that we get those to Rebecca while she's here with us, and obviously do email through if you have any questions outside of this meeting. Thanks, Rebecca, appreciate that. I'm just going to do these few slides on behalf of John Carter, although his email address is up there on the screen, so john.carter@somerset.gov.uk. He joined us last week, and he's really very proud, for good reason, of what Somerset Libraries are offering in terms of early help support. So I'll just take you through some of that now. So there is a special library membership for you as providers, and it's based on a 6-week loan period. You can borrow up to 40 items. This isn't just books, but there's lots of different resources, role play resources, different kind of equipment, etc. And I'll take you through some of that. There's no overdue charges, there's no reserve charges, but just to highlight that any non-returned books, as you would expect, will incur a fine of £5 per book. And preschool classes can loan up to 50 items. I think probably what they've meant by that is reception, but I will make sure that we qualify that for you. Just to remind you that there are 32 libraries across Somerset. 19 of those are core libraries, so have the full offer, and 13 of those are community libraries that may have a reduced offer but still offer a lot in the community as well. An offer that you might not be aware of is that you can borrow ebooks, and there are hundreds of titles available. The ones on the screen there, plus obviously, as it's suggested, hundreds more, and a lot of them will be appropriate for the age group of children in your settings. There's also e-audio books as well. There's been a lot of evidence to suggest if you've got some listening devices in your provision, it's a really great way for children to engage with stories and reading. It might really enhance beautifully your reading area, for example, your book corners. And as you can see there, that's just a few of the titles that you can borrow for children to listen to in your book areas. The Summer Reading Challenge, you might be aware of this, it's been around for a few years now, but for any age of child, and from the July 8th to September the 9th, so obviously, you know, predominantly over the summer holiday periods, the recommendation or the requirement rather is to read 6 books, and then you will receive a certificate and a sticker. I think John was saying they would have received a medal, but the age of the children we're involved in, evidently there's a health and safety issue, but they'll still get a sticker and a certificate for taking place. So perhaps share this with parents in your settings, or you might wish to do this yourselves, register online or visit your local library. Just checking that is everything still on the screen, everybody? It just went black my end.
Still on my screen, Alison.
Still there? Okay, brilliant. Sorry, everybody. Just checking I wasn't suddenly gone. Children who read, this is just a backup. I remember John saying it last week. You know, one of the main reasons around encouraging your children to take part in that summer activity. And as we all know, as practitioners who are, you know, very invested in children's learning, children who read are more likely to overcome disadvantage caused by inequalities. They're more likely to be happier, healthier, and experience better mental well-being and self-esteem, more likely to do better at school and make progress across the curriculum, and are more likely to develop empathy and creativity. So obviously, as we know, just reconfirming how important it is to get children involved with stories, books and reading. This is really a nice offer, and I know Rebecca, you know, will be keen for you to take this offer up. There are some bag books, these specifically designed for children with special educational needs, and they're multisensory books for those with severe or profound and multiple learning disabilities. And the stories are told through voice and emotion rather than words and pictures. So really lovely resource there, and they're available to borrow for free at Somerset libraries. These are nice. You might have seen them. I think I've seen a couple in McDonald's. Maybe that's a really bad thing to admit, isn't it? But interactive projectors. So these are produced by Glassbox, taunton.co.uk. You can borrow those from there. And they are motion activated experiences, again, for children with additional needs, but for any child, which supports sensory and learning environments. So really some, you know, out of the box type resources that you can borrow, which are exciting.
Just to clarify, Alison, I don't think you can borrow the interactive projectors. I think you have to go and use them there in the library.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca.
I think the ones that, if they're the ones that John was talking about, where you play games, and because adults with dementia use them as well as children and different things like that, I think.
Okay, so at the libraries themselves, which is, yeah, quite a nice thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, brilliant. Again, he was keen to promote the Reading Well collection. Those are titles for children and teens, and it is about emotional, mental and well-being. So that's another collection. These ones, hopefully you'll be aware of. I know a lot of settings do attend their local libraries to go to things like rhyme times, story times and other events. They're obviously open to parents as well as settings, and often include things like Lego clubs and then other games clubs. Dad's clubs evidently are you know, rising in popularity, as well as stay and play sessions as well. Another loanable tech for education settings and nurseries is idea boxes, and those include things like Codapillar, if you've heard of those before. No, they're very, very popular. Also the Polaroid 3D pens and Obots, so you can borrow some of those as well to use in your settings. Just another offer, A World of Conversation, and this is about learning a language for free with Somerset Libraries. So this includes children with English as an additional language. They can you can support them to learn English, but equally for other children to learn other languages as well. So language learning online modules aimed at children, and the link is there. And again, just to remind you, we'll be sending these slides out, so don't worry about writing those down right now. What's Your Story campaign? This is about borrowing books to read in Ukrainian, to read at bedtime. So it's offering those children, as it says there, a bit of normality so that they feel included. And they want you to be telling them what the libraries have done for you. So this is an example. What's your story? How have libraries you know, influence your settings? What have you used? How has it impacted? And you can use the QR code there to let them know and obviously that will help them in terms of future offers and even gaining funding, etc. There are some outreach staff as well, so it's worth getting involved. Katie Chick is the person to contact. Her email address is there, so katie.chick@somerset.gov.uk, and there are 4 other staff across the county, so they can come out or tell you about what offers there are in your local community. And this is the early years lead for Somerset Libraries. So John was keen to share the contact of Christina Evans, and that's again her email address there. So if you have any questions and want them answered much better than I've been able to do today, then that's the person you should contact. Okay, I'm going to pass back over to Sarah. Sarah, are you there?
Yeah, sorry. I was just like off in little Sarah land there for a minute. Apologies. I still, as I said the other day on the previous meeting, outstanding what the library provides, and you just don't realise how much that they do. So yeah, apologies. Okay, so early years communities. Early years communities are up and running. They're moving very quickly forward. They've got some absolutely amazing events on. We've been able to fund each community again this year for £3,500, so that will be added to their funds. I will continue to say, link in with your leads, link in with what they're doing, sign yourself up to get the email so that we can pass your email addresses and your staff's email addresses to the early years leads so they can keep you updated with what they're doing. Some really exciting stuff going on. So yeah, again, they can help with training, they can help with resources, you know, and if you're interested in becoming a lead or a voice with the leads, then please do get in contact with either myself or Gemma, and we'll put you in contact with the leads in your community. There is a proposal on the table. Nick's on the line. I don't know if you want to elaborate, Nick, or do you want me to take it forward?
No, I can pick that up if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
So as Sarah said, there is a proposal on the table. A training package is being offered to all schools, which is included in their core offer. So it means that they will be able to access everything that we are developing. And Alison mentioned that, you know, the training packages that are going to be coming. So we are developing some bite-sized webinars and full training. So the webinars are being developed in the first instance, and some of these will be available from April 2023, which is not very long away. And again, we will be adding to that on a monthly basis. So our proposal at the moment is, because schools and that will be getting this, you know, as part of their core offer, we weren't sure how we were going to get it out to early years. So our proposal is that each early years community buy into that training offer. Then that will mean to you as a setting within your early years community that you'll be able to access all of the bite-sized webinars, some of the training, because some of the training will be funded, some will be chargeable, and you will get a sort of passcode which you can then share with your staff within your setting. So what we're proposing is each community will be invoiced for £1,000 in April. So if you're a community that buys into this, then your staff, practitioners, whoever within your setting will be able to buy into those webinars. What we're offering first, we're doing one around early years curriculum, so it's about the intent, what needs to be included in your curriculum. We're also doing a phonics, a beginner's guide, which links into letters and sounds, phase 1. And then from on that, Joe is going to then develop further bite-sized trainings, which link into each aspect. So we're going to do the importance of early reading, which hopefully will link into the early years reading project that's been started within Somerset, development of early writing, and introduction to the 7 key features, which again will then have underneath that 7 other bite-sized pieces of training. And, you know, whatever you need ongoing, we will add to that if there's a need of that. So each webinar is about 30 to 45 minutes. They will be ideal for any practitioner. So you might have new practitioners coming into your setting. You might have practitioners that have been out of early years for a while that might want to join. It might be a recap for existing members. You know, you can use them at staff meetings, inset days. One of the big things about this is you can access those webinars anytime that you want to. So when we put training on, like tonight, it's a designated time and you have to attend. These will be on a platform, and you will have more details about this as soon as we've confirmed that platform and how we're going to do this. And you'll be able to access them at any time that you want. That's it.
Thanks, Nikki. And I think that's a really important point. So you can utilise these bite-sized webinars in your staff meetings. Your staff can access them in their own time when they're, you know, just chilling at home, or they can be released off the shop floor to access those bite-sized webinars as well. So this is about an absolutely flexible way of supporting your staff and continual professional development. So we are hopeful that we'll have a buy-in from the early years community leads to be able to provide that, and mirrors, and I think this is the most important thing, mirrors a consistent approach across schools and early years settings. Again, raising the profile that early years is not, you know, is just as important as schools, raising that profile, making sure that they have access to the appropriate CPD opportunities, the same as schools. So yeah, really exciting times, I think, coming forward. And the most important thing to say is that your early years communities can shape what those needs and wants are. So, you know, you're able to come back and say, these are our needs within our community. We've had X, Y, and Z in regards to outcomes, or in regards to our Ofsted inspection processes. So actually, for us in, I don't know, Bridgewater, or for us in Burnham, or for us in Chard, Ilminster and Crewcombe, there is a specific focus on this that we need, and we can take that to Nikki and Alison's team to say, look, you know, we need something specific for this community around that's accessible and bite-sized to be part of that that core offer. And I think that's really important, because this is not something that's set in stone. This is a movable, this is a growing and movable proposal that's not necessarily set in stone. But yeah, do get in contact with us, do get in contact with your communities. You know, they're sitting on funds that is there to support you.
Absolutely.
And absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Alison.
Thanks, Sarah. Okie dokie. Just going to send myself live. Okay, so I'm going to try and do an okay job on behalf of Stuart. Many of you will know Stuart. He's been to so many of our events, and Somerset Activity and Sports Partnership, SASP, do an amazing job around the county of supporting physical activity in the early years. Many of you have been involved in that already, and here are some of the things coming up. So, Move to Thrive 0 to 5 is a resource to encourage families to get their children moving, and there are activities included for newborn babies, early movers, confident movers, and being school ready. A bit of a theme this evening, isn't it, in terms of what the education strategy is aiming for. Again, you'll get these slides, so you'll be able to click directly on them to download for free and share the Move to Thrive 0 to 5 booklets that you can give to your families, so that they can have the ideas and then also access newsletters, the website, and social media posts as well. Many of you have already been involved in the physical activity audit. This is a really brilliant chance for you to improve your provision for gross motor skills in your settings, and it includes support across a variety of different physical activity areas with the aim of increasing children's overall levels of activity. So it gives you a setting overview, it gives you a physical activity provision for your workforce, for family engagement, and supporting you with learning, and the next opportunity is coming up in September, so bit of breathing room before then, and obviously with cohorts moving on to school, it might be a perfect time for you to get and take part in that next physical activity survey and audit. This is just a bit of an overview really of the amount of settings that have been involved, and Stuart's brilliant. He always keeps up to date with the early years communities, and he's often put things on for our communities across the county. So he's used the communities to actually show how many settings have completed. So at the moment we've got the most in Child Elminster and Crewkerne with 16 settings. We've got 8 in Bridgewater, Yeovil and Stokes-upon-Hamden, and then 14 in Taunton. The other areas slightly less. But as we've got, you know, nearly 500 settings in Somerset, there's only a very small proportion that have taken part. So it'd be really, really good. Please get involved. It's again fully funded. Can't promote how brilliant it is to get these fully funded opportunities in, as we don't know how long they'll continue. And in terms of staff CPD as well, so ensuring that your staff are adequately trained to support these initiatives and make sure that children are getting enough access to physical activity is part of your provision, indoors and out. There is a short CPD session in the Early Healthy Futures Resources, and that's a 60-minute workshop. And again, like Sarah was saying before, for you to uptake at your convenience, maybe at a staff meeting or maybe for staff to do at home, etc. So again, please do contact Stuart. There's his email address again. Priority is given to settings with or have signed up to or have done the physical activity audit, but I'm sure he will take offers from everyone else as well. So further opportunities coming up. So being part of our SASP Early Years Foundation Stage Physical Activity Group shapes the future of the early years work that SASP are doing, and connects with other work, including the education strategy across Somerset. So there is an opportunity for people to be represented, for you to represent the early years sector, and also access lots of resources. And there is all the SASP activity pages there again, so very, very easily accessible for everybody. There again, his email address, his telephone number, and the website for you to visit. Okie dokie. So I'm going to hopefully hand over to Ralph now. So Ralph Lister is joining us from Take Arts. I've been working closely with Ralph recently on the, well, he's looking forward to working with me closely on the early years music strategy, which I'm meeting about tomorrow, but I'm going to hand over now to Ralph to take you through what Take Art have on offer right now. Welcome, Ralph. Apologies, I'm just trying to get you live. You might want to bring yourself off mute though. There we go. You should be able to be on now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's technically very exciting, all of this.
It's really not.
Oh,
I'm doing
yeah.
a terrible job of it.
Great. Okay, well, I've only got a few slides, and some of you may be surprised to see me and not to see Jane Parker or Jenny Loader. I think Jenny was going to come here this evening, but she's a little bit poorly at the moment, so I'm deputising for her. I've got a real commitment to early years. I mean, it was a specialism that we started something like 20 odd years ago when my son went to a preschool. In fact, I remember taking Will to Wincham preschool when Sarah Love was working there. I don't know if she remembers me. Anyway, so first slide. First thing about this project, which is a regional project. So we're Take Art are working in a number of counties across the southwest with funding from Youth Music. We're working with a lot of music hubs. We've completed quite a few projects, and the key message from me with regards to Soundwaves Network Southwest is that two things. So hang on. Is that we're running one more project in Somerset from October 2023 to February 2024. So if you would like for your setting to be considered, please get in touch, and then we'll share more detailed information about what to expect, and then we'll ask you to fill in a really easy expression of interest form that will help us to select the setting. So there's an opportunity there for a setting to be actively involved in the project in Somerset. So the next slide, please. So Jane runs a number of courses, which is like an introduction to delivering early years music in early years settings, and it's primarily for early years practitioners. So we're running a course after Easter, which is now fully booked. We're going to be running another course in the autumn. You can see what the fee is on the slide. The course is in great demand, so please keep an eye on our website and newsletter for the next series of dates. As I say, the next one is fully booked, but there will be another one in the autumn. If there is a group of you that wish to attend, and you need to sort of pay a collective fee, I don't know what it will be, but the thing to do would be to get in touch with us directly. I'll put the email address in the chat. It'll be, when I finish, it'll be earlyyears@takeart.org, but I will put it in the chat when we finish. And this is very much about providing accessible training for early years practitioners to build skills and confidence in providing and enabling musical environments. Next slide, please. Making and Believing is quite a big project that we're working with, funding predominantly from the Paul Hamlin Foundation, and we're working with partners in Derby, where there is also an opportunity area, or there was an opportunity area, and also with Surrey. We're sort of coming towards the end of the delivery phase, and we've got, in fact, I'm going to Wales, to the Little Wellies preschool, I think it is, in Wales tomorrow, to see Takeshi, who is doing his final performances for us this week. We will be having a tour by another company called Darrell & Co. The show's called A Square World. It's going to be available in June for settings to book, and there is it's an inclusive show, so it'll be looking at how physical disability in particular is something that can be embraced in the minds and activities that young children take part in. So again, contact us if you think you'd be interested in hosting a show. Yep, next slide, please. So we approached with the announcement of the National Plan for Music Education, which came out several months ago now. We approached Alison and Helen Reid, who is the hub coordinator for the Music Education Hub in Somerset, to create an early years music strategy for the county. The shift in the new music plan is that for the first time they're referencing the importance of music activity with children aged 0 to 5. Previously, it was deemed by the government that education started at the age of 5, and so the music hubs were funded to only work with ages from 5 upwards. So we're really delighted that the government has embraced the fact that children under 5 do exist and they have needs of their own. So there are some changes in the air with regards to the way the hubs are going to work. And we sent out, with support from Alison and Helen, 3 different surveys to early year settings, to the Music Hub partners, and also to independent music practitioners. And we were really, really delighted that 55 settings responded to the survey. And so that made us feel that the data that we were collecting was really, really credible. What it means is that the first draft of the strategy currently sits with Alison and Helen, and once we've incorporated their feedback, we do hope to send the strategy out to everyone that took part to get their feedback prior to getting a final draft sorted out. And I let me just, yeah, so I think that we're hoping that there will be support for early year settings from within the Music Hub either from this September or September afterwards. And if you've got any questions or comments about how you might access that kind of training, then again, we'd be really delighted to hear from you. So if you go to the last slide, please. So there's the contact details, some of which you already have. And I will also put the contact details for the previous projects that I mentioned in the chat as well. Thanks, Alison. Back to you.
Thanks, Ralph. And Helen and I are meeting tomorrow, so we'll be able to send you that feedback. So
okay,
yeah, really
great.
Exciting to take part in that strategy. So look out for that, everybody. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to send live Nikki now, who's going to give you some of the Ofsted themes feedback. Really helpful stuff this is, just to give you a picture, especially if you're in the Ofsted window, of the kind of things that Ofsted are focusing on at this time. Hi, Nikki.
Hi. Just to recap on what Alison said there, if you are in the Ofsted window, we've just put a preparing for your inspection training on, and we will be doing another one, so keep an eye on that on your SSE website. So just to recap there, autumn and spring themes. So again, curriculum rears its head, and that is about age appropriateness, activities focused on what children need to learn and focused on their emerging interest and need. Those are key words that keep coming out of that. Support for children, and especially that language, and as we know, that's a golden thread through your curriculum. So again, it's about provide more opportunities for children to develop their understanding and awareness of diversity, and that's come up in a few things. And I saw a new one yesterday, and again that came up about it's not just about knowing diversity within other children, it's about also knowing how they're different themselves. So again, think about where you plan your curriculum. Time. That's one that's, I think every time I've mentioned curriculum Ofsted themes, it's one that comes out. So again, it's giving children time to find solutions, to answer questions, respond to questions, help older children listen, because that is a bit when they're going into school and transition. So environment, your environment fully supports children's learning, review your play areas, do you audit them on a regular basis? Working in partnership with parents, and home learning is coming up a lot around that one. So again, how do you support your parents in home learning? Staff, again, that was about inductions, supervisions, and how they're deployed effectively to meet the needs of all the children and to keep them safe. And then safeguarding, which again is another one that pops its head up every time. So again, it's about staff knowing how to respond in a timely and appropriate way, and actually ensure staff know how to implement all aspects of safeguarding procedures. So again, it's about just checking. What I have put in the blue box is the Early Years Inspection Handbook grade descriptors, because I really do think this is a book, if you are definitely coming up in that Ofsted window, and we know they're definitely doing their 6-year windows or their 12 months or their 6 months, and actually they're coming probably about a couple of months earlier, actually, just to give you a warning on that. You need to be looking at these grade descriptors and start with the good and use it as a bit of reflective practice within your setting. But definitely look at those. And on the second slide that I've got, these are outstanding statements. And the reason we put those out there, because actually this is again another reflective tool that you can use, and all of the highlighted words, so immerse, following their lead, high expectations, they all link to Ofsted's definition of teaching from the EYFS and the inspection handbooks. But they also link into the areas of learning. They talk about development, staff role model. So again, it's how your staff are interacting with those children. So again, it was just good to see some positive to support your own reflective practice. As Alison said, you'll get the slides, so you will be able to look at them in more depth and then use them and print them off and whatever. So I hope that was useful. They will be in the next newsletter. So it will be spring's Ofsted judgment, so you can have a look at those as well.
Brilliant, thanks Nikki. It's also really interesting looking at schools Ofsted inspections. A lot of it is focused on early years at the moment in terms of teachers and senior leaders in schools knowing progression of skills and knowledge from early years all the way through, because it's so important for colleagues to understand where children have come from and the expectations that you're setting in your settings. So don't underestimate your part of the conversation at school transition. It is vital for our schools and our leaders to be able to design their curriculums to suit the needs of the pupils moving through the school system. Absolutely vital. And just wanted to kind of just add one thing to what Nikki was saying. In terms of curriculum, it's how you support those children to know more, remember more and do more. And it's always that building on that skills and knowledge and sequencing it correctly in terms of child development, so that our children really are getting the best they can from their early years education, which of course, as we know, is the most important phase. Thanks, Nikki.
Thanks, Alison. Oh, I think that's me as
It's
well.
you
now,
again, yeah.
I'll just turn my camera off, look at that. So again, training, we haven't stopped doing training. It hasn't been as much over the past few months because of the, you know, the redesign and different things. We are continuing with our committee training. So if any of you are part of committees, or you are a voluntary managed setting, we have a committee training tomorrow night, short notice, I know, but it is the roles of the management committee. And again, that has come up within Ofsted about knowing the roles, because it comes under your leadership and management. We've just completed a pre-inspection training, but we have one next term. So there are peremptory inspections. So this is about early years settings that are managed by a school. So it's not for registered providers because the inspection is different. So we are still doing that, and I will do a pre-inspection training probably June time. Again, just need to look at dates. And we're also doing self-evaluation. And we run Quest, as you know, a lot of you have got the book and you're using the Quest document. Had a meeting today with Baines, who support the Quest, and they are looking at putting it online, which will help a lot of us. And they're looking at bringing the specifics in, because at the moment it only mentions Prime. So I will keep you updated on the Quest. I will also let you into something which I totally forgot about, I'll be honest with you. I met with a provider today who used to use Quest and used it really well. And I wanted some feedback from her, really. And she mentioned something that we developed for West Somerset Opportunity Area, which was a RAG rating questions from the Quest. And she said actually she found that more useful. So I am going to look that back out again, Alison, and I'm going to have a meeting with Joe and see if that would be useful for all of you, because we can do that. So that is something to hopefully look forward to. And as I said, there are trainings on the bottom of the screen that are happening in the summer term, and you book via Support Services for Education. And they're all virtual. We're not doing them online. Perfect. And then we just have some bespoke training that we continue to offer. At the moment, it's both myself and Joe. I know Joe's on the team tonight. So characteristics of effective learning, lessons and sound. So we will do these as full courses. We've mentioned them as bite-sized. Enable environments, mastery stories. So they're there, and we offer them through the earliest communities. Or if there's nothing, you contact us, then we will put them on either as virtual or face-to-face. But if it's face-to-face, the charge will be a little bit more, because obviously we have to pay for venues and different things. But please do contact myself or Joe. We can put Joe's email in the chat. Thank you. Oh,
fabulous. Thank you, Nikki. Is this yours as well?
Well, I'm going to say thank you to Joe for this. Joe's put the last 3 slides together. And again, these are, you can take, when you have the slides sent, you can have a look at them. But what I want to stress is that you need to keep yourselves up to date and making sure that you're using the most latest edition of whatever. So if you do click on that link, it usually takes you to the updated, and it has been updated in November. Again, early years inspection handbook thing. Joe's mentioned the Education Endowment Foundation, early years. And again, have a look at that, because they've got quite a few on there, especially around sort of reading. They've got the one with home learning, which is really good. And Joe's put on the bottom the link to what the EYFS guide for parents, which used to be the what to expect when, which again, a lot of settings are using with their parents. Next slide, I think, is still ours.
Just to say about the Education Endowment Foundation as well, it has a whole list of evidence-based training resources around every possible kind of subject you would wish to learn about, and also things to do with children as well. So some of the evidence-based speech and language support programs, etc., such as ICANN, that gives you all the tools and feedback in terms of the value added for children. So children who are potentially developmentally delayed in speech and language, how quickly they improve and progress on some of these programs. So it's really, really interesting to go onto that website and have a look at what they've got available.
It's under their toolkits, if you look
Yes.
under there. So again, Joe's included safeguarding, so the inspected safeguarding in early years. So again, have a look at that. Again, it was updated recently, the effective support document. We've also included the SEND documents on there as well. I think the last one is just signposting. And again, we haven't, Rebecca asked us to add some. So again, just different things for you to look at and use within your practice, really. So I do have to say thank you to Joe, because Joe put those together for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks, Nikki. Gosh, that gives us 15 minutes left, everybody. So there's been a couple of things put in the Q&A, but this is your opportunity while you've got us here to ask us any questions. For those of you who I've just wanted to come and have the information, it's been really, really great to see you. As always, we so appreciate you joining us, especially in your evening, although it's a lot lighter tonight, isn't it? It's so lovely now the clocks have changed and we're actually having some longer, lighter days. But yeah, if anybody wants to stay around, we'll be here for the next few minutes, and if you'd like to put some questions in the Q&A, we'll do our best to answer those tonight. And just remains for me to say thanks to everybody who's joined me tonight and presented. Obviously Ralph, Sarah, Rebecca, Nikki, Joe and Sharon. It's been a really great evening again. We'll send the recordings out of this and the presentations and any other information we promised you in the next couple of days. Rebecca's just put in the chat, the Anna Freud Centre is a really helpful resource for parents and staff regarding behaviour and emotional well-being. That's a really good signpost, Rebecca.
Yeah, I think they do an early years newsletter as well. Or you can sign up, and they're very it's a therapeutic based informed advice. So Brilliant. All that advice. They also have some really excellent weird and wonderful training that just comes along every now and again with best practice examples from around the country.
Excellent. Some really great resources out there, aren't there? I think we were very kind of unused to virtual ways of working, weren't we, until COVID obviously came, and obviously the face-to-face was always lovely to do, but actually it's enabled us in times where capacity is such an issue and releasing staff is such an issue that actually the the improvement in the virtual offer across lots and lots of different services is really quite incredible. So yeah, we're lucky to have such great resources to be able to access. Okay, it doesn't look like any other questions coming in. We will hang around for a little while. Thank you, Joe. You've just put the Anna Freud Centre web address in the chat as well, if anybody wants to take that with you. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
And I've just in those few seconds registered for the newsletter as well to be sent to me. So there you go. That's how
excellent.
That's how quick you can do it.
Yeah, and just a reminder, obviously we are here to support you. If for any reason you're trying to get hold of somebody in the local authority and need some help, we're more than happy to carry on taking your queries and signpost you and obviously help you if we can ourselves. But in terms of obviously Rebecca's remit and my own as curriculum literacy with Joe and Nikki in my team, and Sarah obviously in terms of education places for early years, we are all here to support you. So please do get in touch with us if you need us. We just had one come through. So the SEHA training, is this open for ideas that practitioners may benefit from? For example, an update on what play is and how play is beneficial and how it connects to the curriculum. Really, really great question. So, yeah, go on.
I'm not sure about the SEH training, but I know the curriculum bite size includes play, and if you would like something around play, we can do a bite size training around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's worth emailing Sharon. We'll put Sharon's email in the
Yeah.
chat and email Sharon.
I mean, usually play is at the heart of everything they do, but you know, to get that specific question answered, we'll make sure that we ask Sharon, as she's had to leave us now tonight. Okay, we'll just leave it a couple of more minutes for any other questions coming in.
Also, Birth to 5, just thinking about that, has got a lot on research on play and different things, so that is also worth looking at. It's online, it's available.
Absolutely. Okay, everybody, if there's no more questions coming in, I'll end the live event. As I said, please do get in contact if you need us. But thanks again for coming out or being at home and watching us tonight, and hope you have a nice rest of the evening and a good rest of the week. And for those of you who term time only, have a lovely Easter break as well. Okay, thanks everybody.